The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're webcasting to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. We're in Tower 1, the new home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. This is also the new home for Autism Live. We're in temporary digs at the moment because our studio is being finished on the 18th floor. We'll probably be taking some more pictures today so that you can see insulation and things like that. Walls are up, insulation is there. It is coming along. We hope to be in there in the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, we are doing Autism Live Light. You'll notice that we look a little bit different, maybe sound a little bit different. It's because our new digs are coming to you with as much speed as we can manage. But thrilled to be here with you this morning. So much to talk about on this bright, not bright here in Los Angeles. We're having the May gray, as they say, but hopefully it's bright where you are. In any case, we're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours, talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. We want you to participate with us because this entire show is meant to be interactive. In fact, Kelby's going to show you some of the different ways that you can interact with us, some of the different ways that you can be watching the show, while I remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, there is so much to do. We really want to make sure that you sign up, though, for our email list. When you do that, and it's free, by the way, you get our free monthly newsletter, and you get our weekly programming guide that tells you some of the guests who are going to be with us for that week. It's a wonderful way for us to keep in touch with you. It also allows us to give you an update when we have some news that's very pressing, which sometimes we do. And so I hope that you will sign up and participate for that. But also on that homepage, you could be watching the live show. All you have to do is click on the triangle that shows up on the computer screen when you go to autism-live.com. And it will show you the live show or the most recently recorded live show. Now you can click on the playlist that's up in the upper left-hand corner to cycle back through the most recent 100 shows. To the side of all that is something that we refer to as the live feature. That is your opportunity to talk to us in real time. If you put your cursor in the box that says your question, start typing, hit enter. That's it. You don't have to log in. You don't have to have a username or a password. Just type, hit enter. It shows up here on our screen, and then I have an opportunity to communicate with you, and better still, you have an opportunity to communicate with our experts and guests, and that's a lovely thing. Now, you know at the start of the show that I always like to remind you that we have lots of guests on the show and lots of experts. I absolutely love being able to give you access to those wonderful people, but I do like to remind you that I'm not an expert. I have lots of experts on the show, but I am not one of them. I'm a mom and a former teacher. I was blessed to have my son almost 12 years ago now, and he was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and he always will be the light of my life. We've been able to be very fortunate that we've had access to things that I know that not everyone has had access to. But it has been my mission to get you as much access to as much as I can possibly make happen. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I have a passion for helping you. And I hope that I can. If you've got a question, send it in. If I don't know the answer, then I'm for sure going to try to find somebody who does have the answer to your question. So that's why I'm here. But again, not an expert, just somebody who's on this journey with you. And by the way, if you are a parent, a teacher, a practitioner, or an individual who's on the autism spectrum, or who cares about somebody who is on the autism spectrum, it's all good. We welcome all of you. We hope that we can connect you with something that will be meaningful to you and get you towards that progress that you're working towards. Sound good? We like to start every morning with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to make sense of it because a lot of times these definitions just go right over your head, right? And the truth of the matter is that when you understand what they truly mean, it makes a tremendous difference in how effective you can be. And we all want to be more effective, right? Saves money, saves time, gets more done. So we take these words on one little bit at a time. You know what Dr. Jonathan Tarbach says? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's what we're doing with the jargon terms, one bite at a time. All right, our jargon term for today is conditioned reinforcer. I know, doesn't it sound like something you put in your hair that makes it have no split ends? That's what I always used to think about, conditioned reinforcer. That's not what it means when we're talking about autism. So let's take a look at our actual definition. Conditioned reinforcer, a previously neutral stimulus. Do you see why we do this? That now functions as a reinforcer because of prior has-been pairings with one or more established reinforcers, sometimes also known as a secondary or learned reinforcer, becomes a reinforcer through these pairings. Say what? What you talking about, Willis? I have no idea, and I know what a conditioned reinforcer is. This is why we do this. So you're hearing somebody talk about how they're working with your child, maybe, and they're saying, well, you know, we're using a conditioned reinforcer. We want to understand what it means. So let's move on to our working definition and see if we can get a handle on what exactly are we talking about. Conditioned reinforcer is something that now functions as a reward because you repeatedly paired it with an item or activity that your child already loves. Now, we have the term child in there, but this could be anyone. Right? I think the thing that when we hear about conditioned reinforcer, if you know about Pavlov and Pavlov's dogs, this is a conditioned reinforcer. So what you're doing is you're taking something like this pad of paper that, you know, this is not a big exciting thing to anybody. Nobody is going to go, woohoo, a new short pad of paper. I'm willing to do something really difficult for this short pad of paper, right? They're just not. It's not that exciting. Maybe for a very specific reason, somebody might find this exciting. But let's say that I have no other choice but to make this pad of paper really exciting to somebody. Because think about it. If you know, homework for our kids, homework is not woohoo, right? But I have to make it exciting enough that they want to do the homework and do well at their homework so that they're getting good grades, right? So you're taking something that maybe doesn't, from the outside, doesn't look like it's exciting, and we're now going to pair it with something that is exciting. Now, we can pair it with a primary reinforcer like food, or we can pair it with something that the child finds exciting or the adult finds exciting. So here I've got my iPhone, and a lot of kids really like an iPhone and find it very reinforcing. So if I want to make this pad of paper really reinforcing, I'm going to pair it with the iPhone over and over and over again. And how do I do that? You know, I might say, here, you know, draw something on this piece of paper, and if you do, I'm going to give you the iPhone. So I'm making a connection in the other person's brain of this piece of paper, whenever it shows up, the iPhone shows up. And I want to have it be, you know, directly as together as possible. So it can't be draw something on this piece of paper and a half an hour from now I'm going to give you the iPhone. That's not going to work. It's got to be pretty immediate, if not at the same time. Same time, even better. And I pair it, and I pair it, and I pair it, and I pair it, and I make sure that the whole experience around this pad of paper is fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And I might have to add other things, not just an iPhone, but I'm pairing it with all kinds of wonderfulness, because eventually I'm going to start fading the iPhone out of the situation. That maybe we just begin with the iPhone and the iPhone goes away and we're just working on the pad of paper, or maybe the iPhone comes in a couple of seconds later, but I begin to have this separate after I've established, because over time, and it may take a year, right? It could very possibly take a year, it could even take 2 years, but over time, this pad of paper is as reinforcing or close to being as reinforcing as the phone was, if I've done it right. Now, why? Why do we want to do that? Because there's a whole lot of things, especially for our kids on the autism spectrum, that aren't meaningful to them, like making eye contact. It just isn't meaningful to a lot of our kids for a long period of time. So we have to make it meaningful. And how do we do that? We pair it with something that is meaningful to them. Or how about speaking? So many of us want our children to be able to speak, and if there isn't a physical reason why they can't, then we know that if we pair speaking with something that's reinforcing, we're going to be more likely to get to it, and more likely to get to it faster. I was talking with somebody last week about the power of bubbles with a child who is pre-verbal. Oh my goodness, because they find the bubble, we're pairing the two of them together, they find the bubbles so reinforcing, and we're going ba, 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 which is one of the first sounds that we make, and we find that if we keep going ba, ba, ba with the bubbles, if we pause eventually before we blow the bubble, the child will start to make the motion with their mouth of ba, 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 and eventually we can coerce those sounds to come out. So think about things right now that for a student or a child in your life that you go, oh gosh, I wish they would care about this. Maybe it's personal hygiene. Maybe it's other people's feelings. Maybe it's about picking up their room. Maybe it's about being polite and being warm with people, and including in that making eye contact when they're giving them salutations. If we really want to take something that is not exciting to them and make it exciting to them, we can do conditioned reinforcement, pairing it with. By the way, one of the first things that we do, because our kids a lot of times are not reinforced by praise, is that we pair positive things with praise. A lot of times people find it very weird being around a child with autism that's getting intensive early behavioral intervention, because there's a lot of praise involved, going, yay, that was wonderful, yay. And it can make other people uncomfortable, like, this doesn't feel real, this doesn't feel like, but we're trying to get praise to the point where it is reinforcing enough. So we're pairing it with good things, heaping it on, because eventually we're gonna, maybe, we're giving the child candy and praise, right? Because we're trying to get the praise to be reinforcing, so that eventually we can fade the candy out. Now we're praising and they're finding it reinforcing, and eventually we'll even dial down on the praise so that they're not having to be praised every single time. And we'll go to that sort of slot machine mentality where maybe every fifth time we praise them, right? Because it's enough to maintain it. But super duper important, if we want to make something reinforcing, we pair it with something else. Pavlov and the dog, eventually he did the bell, and the dogs, because they were so trained and conditioned that you ring the bell, we get food, that eventually he rang the bell and their bodies reacted, they salivated as if the food was coming. So that's conditioned reinforcement, and it's a very, very powerful tool. By the way, this does work on animals. This does work on adults on and off the spectrum. This would work with all of your significant others. This works with your boss. This works with your employees. Pair things with other things so that they will find those things reinforcing. It's powerful, but you got to know what you're doing. All right, so that is our jargon term for today, conditioned reinforcer. Moving on, we always have a question of the day for you. Our question today. I love this question. This is a life-changing question. If you knew you could be successful, what is the one thing that you would love to do? If you knew that there was no possibility of failure, what would you do? And of course, the other part of this is, how hard would you work? How hard would you work if you knew that you could not succeed? I'd love to hear from you guys. Write it on Facebook. I'll try to make some time later on in the show to check in and see what you guys have to say. But what's the one thing that you would do? Because here's the thing. When people get that motivated and say, I'm going to do this because I know there's no possibility of failure, they find success. Some measure of it, they find success. It's an interesting way of looking at things. So love to hear from you guys. If you knew you could be successful, what's the one thing you would love to do? Because I want to make the case that you can be successful at that, so you should do it. Don't let the fear of failure prevent you from doing things. What does this have to do with autism? It has everything to do with autism. So often I meet parents who haven't accessed this, who feel like they've already lost. And if you are that parent and you're watching today, I want to tell you, you have not. You can get right back in this game. There are things that you can do today to make a difference in your life and to make a difference in your child's life. There is progress. It's on the table. You just have to be willing to get on that mindset of, we're going to do this no matter what, because there will be days that you fail, and it doesn't matter. There is still success around the corner. We're going to talk more about that. In fact, we have a topic every week, and our topic for this week is finding passion. When you get passionate about something, when you decide this is what I'm going to do, it's amazing how it's not that things get out of your way. Things are still in your way, but you find a way through them, you find a way over them, you find a way under them. You guys, if you watch the show, you know I love I'm Going on a Bear Hunt, the kids' book, because that's, it's all about that. Oh, we've run into some mud. What are we going to do? We can't go over it. We can't go under it. We got to go through it. A lot of things in life are that way. And when you find your passion, you discover that the willingness to make it through the mud, to make it through the muck. And we're going to be talking to a lot of different guests this week who have found their passion, who have helped their children to find their passion, and other people who are doing some important work to try to unlock those keys to find the passion, because it's all about finding it. Once you find it, everything gets a lot easier. So some of our different things that we're going to be talking about today, in just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by a lovely gentleman who I understand goes by the name of Nelson Santiago. He's going to be talking with us about the E4I camp at Picasso Einstein. This, we're going to be featuring a bunch of different camps over the next 2 weeks, because I know it's that time. Some of us are scrambling. We don't know where our kids are going to camp. And I also want to make sure that everybody knows what the possibilities are. We're specifically going to be talking to camps that are recipients of a Baker grant from Autism Speaks, which gives them funding to give scholarships to individuals who are on the autism spectrum. And these scholarships, the camps that they're going out to, are amazing, and they are all over the United States. So for all of you who are sitting there and thinking, well, Shannon talks about this and Shannon talks about that, but they don't have that here, I want to try to expand your thinking a little bit to start looking at what is in your backyard, because there are some amazing things. And we're going to start with the Picasso Einstein and their special E4I camp. We've got some autism news. I'm sure that you guys have been watching on the news. Very big story being reported in the national news about some folks on an airplane. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. And then we were able yesterday to pre-tape an interview with Robin Schneider, who is the author of Silent Running. And you guys, when I talk about passion and finding your passion and finding your way through obstacles, let me just tell you, if you're going to listen to one person's story to make you feel inspired to get up off the couch today and do something different than you did before, let me just tell you, you got to stick around for Robin Schneider in the second hour, because this is a mom who has been through it and is still going through it. And she not only found the passion for her 2 boys, which happened to be running marathons, but found that passion for herself and her husband, and it's helped them to really come together. It's an amazing story. Running may not be your passion, but hearing her talk about how they discovered what it was that was actually going to make a difference for her boys, I guarantee you, you're going to be inspired. And then we have to do a little bit of discussion later on today, because today is the actual birthday for Miss Nancy Allspaw Jackson. We're going to be celebrating on the show tomorrow, but I have an assignment for you guys. So it's a big birthday, and our friend, has been going through some stuff of her own, and she could use a friendly shout out. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit, because I'd like for you guys to be writing in for tomorrow's show so we can have some happy birthday messages for her. So in any case, all of that and ever so much more, hopefully some of your comments on Facebook throughout our show. Stick with us. We're going to be right back after these messages.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What
yes.
did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, we wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. We underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm really excited because we have a guest joining us from Florida. Nelson Santiago is with us, and he is coming to us from Picasso Einstein. So first of all, Nelson, welcome to Autism Live.
Thank you so much.
Thrilled to have you here. I'm going to tell on you a little bit because right before we went on air, Nelson was saying the nicest things about his wife. And I said, well, Nelson, I just really like you. Any guy who says such nice things about his wife, is a fine, upstanding gentleman. So we're extra thrilled to have you, Nelson. So tell our viewers, what is Picasso Einstein?
Well, Picasso Einstein, in a nutshell, really is an organization that promotes self-employment. I mean, that is really the 5-second elevator pitch. We focus primarily on helping individuals with special needs, as well as parents and caretakers and anyone who might be involved in their lives, to understand that self-employment is as viable as traditional employment. And so we offer education, consulting, and so that's it. We're waving the self-employment flag big time.
Well, we love that, and we want to wave that flag with you. And we asked you specifically to come on today because you've got a camp that's happening this summer. It's actually the third time you're going to be doing the E4I camp, but this summer in particular, you are the recipients of a Baker grant from Autism Speaks, which is quite an honor. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that's going to enable you to do. But tell our viewers what the E4I camp does.
So E4I means Entrepreneurship for Independence. And the reason why we named it that is because other than our program, I think all too often people think that entrepreneurship is for business or for money. And our argument is that if you focus on pursuing self-employment or entrepreneurship for the sake of independence, then you don't get caught up on, is this a moneymaker, or is this business going to be, big, or those have nothing to do with what we're talking about. What we're talking about is, how do you take the individual with the most impairment and allow them the maximum of opportunity to experience independence, even if it's just for a moment. And so that's what Entrepreneurship for Independence is about, is how do you offer as many opportunities for any individual to experience and have a taste of independence. And we feel that that's a groundbreaker, because once they taste independence and have the ability to celebrate even a moment of independence, then that puts gas in the tank. Now they're interested in experiencing that independence again. And there's where you begin the groundwork of helping them understand that this vehicle of entrepreneurship could allow them to feel that independence for the rest of their lives. And that's really what it's all about.
It's so exciting. So when does the camp actually take place this summer?
Well, we have 2 different sessions. We have a session that starts in June that runs all the way through July. And then we have another session that goes from July to August. All of the dates and the specificities of the camp are on PicassoEinstein.com. And we even have a payment plan for families who can't come up with all of the money up front. And then we have our wonderful grant now that allows us to help families who have financial hardships. But we have 2 4-week sessions, and they're in the class 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for 4 weeks, really working shoulder to shoulder with other students with similar disabilities, trying to really get their lives on a course of independence.
And give that website again where they can go to find out more about the camp.
Sure, it's PicassoEinstein.com, and they just click on the tab that says courses.
And now you're in Florida, correct? What part of Florida?
We're in a town called Pembroke Pines, which is, I would say, somewhere in the middle between Fort Lauderdale and Miami.
Okay. And I was so excited when I read a little bit about what you guys do and about this camp, because it made me think of all the parents who've written into us and said, what are we supposed to do for our kids who are a little bit older? There's nothing for our kids who are a little bit older. And it's something that we've all gotten used to saying, because it certainly was true for so many years. And I don't want to candy coat it. There still aren't enough. Like, we need to clone Picasso Einstein, right? We need to make more of them. But I need for people to understand that there are people like you, Nelson, who are getting it done. And that, that there are programs such as yours out there, and that people are paying attention. And Autism Speaks gave you a grant because they think what you're doing is so amazing that they want to make sure that if somebody can't afford it, that there's the potential for them to be able to go. That's what those scholarships are for. So I'm so encouraged, Nelson. This sounds like such a wonderful thing. Is there any kind of like, if somebody is interested in this model, is there the potential for them to do a Picasso Einstein where they live?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we're in the process of taking our curriculum and converting it into an online course. And obviously, hands over fist, we prefer a classroom setting, because not only are you helping an individual learn about entrepreneurship, but you're also giving them opportunities to make friends who are also on the same track for the rest of their lives. So we prefer classroom settings if possible, but we're hoping that soon, within the next couple of months, we will begin launching an online course where parents can at least start learning the basics of how they put together a micro enterprise that's based around independence goals for their child, and have their child work as part of that business from home. And if I could just give you one example of how that would work, is if we had a family who had a younger young man with autism who really had not done much with his life, but imagine the parents' response was, well, all he really likes to do is fold clothing. And so, of course, they completely had written off any idea of employment, much less having his own business. Well, just forward that, and now what you do is you move this young man into an opportunity where he can do what he enjoys, which is folding clothing, but how do you structure it into a business opportunity? So starting a laundry business out of their garage is a perfect opportunity where he can continue to work, do what he loves to do, but now you start integrating this individual into the community by selling those services of washing clothes and folding clothes to your neighbors, and have him go with you to pass out the business cards that have his name on it and his contact information. Because what you want to do is always assume that the person is competent, regardless of whether or not they can reflect that. And when you assume that, then you make every opportunity possible for that person to know that this business is all about them, and it's something that they should feel proud of and that they can own in the future. And so those are the types of concepts and working out those ideas that we'd like to share with families without being limited to South Florida. And we think that if we start putting together our curriculum online, we'd at least be able to help families get started.
It's a wonderful, wonderful plan, Nelson. Give us
Thanks.
the website again.
It's www.picassoeinstein.com.
Okay. And what for people who are interested in the E4I camp happening this summer, what's the best age range to participate in that camp?
Well, the camp is limited you have to be at least 16 years old, and we have it up to 28. Now, if I could just say something, we do that because we prefer having the students without support. If they need support, they're invited to have support in the classroom, but we really like students to really lead the class. But if I were to have an audience full of parents who said, okay, well, my child isn't 16, then I would say then they're the actual perfect candidates. You know, our son, we have two boys who are on the spectrum, and one is 12 and one is 14, and both of them are already working on their own businesses. And we feel that as early as 10, you should already be exposing your child on the spectrum to the idea of them owning their own business and getting their hands busy, involved in their own passion and their hobbies. And I think that by the time they're 16, by the time they're 24, the concept of self-employment will be so comfortable for them that it won't be such a large proportionate change for them in their lives and even their families. So although we're limited to 16, I would really encourage all families who have anyone younger than 16 to start looking into it, to really entertain it thoroughly.
Nelson, I love your program. I think that you're a stand-up guy, and I think that you're making a tremendous difference for your boys and for all of our kids. We really salute you. I'm thrilled that Autism Speaks gave you guys a Baker grant. I hope that people will go to your website and check it out. And please let us know as soon as you are ready with your online. We'll make sure to let our audience know, because I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in that.
Very cool. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Nelson. Give my best to your whole family.
Thank you so much. Same to yours.
Take care. Bye-bye. Great, great guy, great dad, great program. Again, that's PicassoEinstein.com. Check it out. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more Autism Live after these messages. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
What is autism? Autism.
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to just
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have a misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
Always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these three words. There is hope.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We promised you a little bit of autism news, and I know it's been all over mainstream media, but it's always interesting to me how stories get covered. Of course, I'm talking about the case of Juliet Beagle, 15 years old, she and her family were kicked off of a United Airlines flight over the weekend because they were concerned about Juliet's behavior. And of course, the video that everybody has been showing is showing a very peaceable Juliet getting up and leaving the plane with no problems, with headphones on, and you hear passengers saying, oh, there's going to be a lawsuit over this, and we understand that Donna Beagle, the mom in this case, has said she is going to file a lawsuit. There have been different ways that the story has been reported, and I think what it brings up for me, and I'd love to hear from you guys about this, your feelings about this, is that we just went through April Autism Awareness Month. And I know a lot of people say, we don't need more awareness, we need action. And I think to that, yes, no, that's true, we need more action. But the truth of the matter is that we have not crossed the threshold of awareness. And this incident brings it quite to home. But I gotta be honest that I don't just think that it's everybody else who needs to get to awareness. I think we all need to get to awareness, right? That you know how before you know something, the day before you know something, you have no knowledge of it. And then you know about it and it just seems like it's part of you and you know about it, and it's hard to remember what it was like before you knew about something. Like, try to remember what it was like when you were 3 years old and you couldn't read. It's really hard to access that, right? Well, we all were walking around on this planet at one point and we didn't know about autism. We didn't. And I gleefully admit that at this point, 10 years in, I still have so many things about autism that I'm not going to get to know because there isn't enough time left for me on the planet to learn all that I want to know about autism. So we have to, those of us in the autism community, have to get our heads wrapped around the fact that people don't know what we're dealing with. And what words we choose to tell them what we're dealing with, we're not always going to get it right. We just aren't. There's no way to get it right 100% of the time. So my understanding of this circumstance is that they tried to get her to eat at the airport. Juliet is somebody who is a little bit of a fussy eater and likes to eat things that are hot. They tried to get her to eat at the airport. How many of us can attest that we try everything before we get onto the plane to make sure that we're set up for success? And this family worked hard to get themselves as successful as they could, but sometimes our kids, they get nervous. They can sense everything. For whatever reason, Juliet did not eat at the airport. So then they get on the plane and she is hungry and mom is having some anxiety, I'm sure, and it all starts to escalate. She asks for help, which is exactly what any of us would do, right? Asks of the stewardesses what will help. Excuse me, flight attendants. Showing my age here. Flight attendants. She asks for some help and support, and they weren't taking it very seriously. Eventually, they did bring something that was had some temperature to it because mom had plied enough and said, I really need your help here because if I don't get your help, we could have a meltdown. And from my understanding of seeing the video of the mom being interviewed, she detailed what some of the meltdown behaviors could be if they didn't get help. Now, why did she do that? It's what any of us would do because if you're not getting the support you need to head it off at the pass, you start giving somebody a description. It's what we're used to. But when the attendants heard that, they became afraid, saying this is erratic behavior. Apparently, mom had described that she might scratch, she might kick, and the flight attendants became concerned for the well-being of everybody on the plane and went to the pilot and said, here's the situation, we don't know what's going to happen. And it stopped being about problem solving and getting this young girl some hot food and became about panicking, and they landed the plane. Now, you know, what a terrible circumstance for everyone. My focus, certainly, you know, as a parent, I think, okay, I want to avoid this. I enjoy the pleasure of flying with my son, and my son is a wonderful little flyer. We've had some days that it wasn't as good when he was younger. It can be very stressful for a parent, but what can we put in our bag of tricks so that we can help airlines to not react in this way? Because if we don't get on this, if we sit back and say, oh, we'll let the airlines take care of it, we're not going to get to the promised land. We're just not. Literally or figuratively, because we won't be able to get on the flight. I do know that a lot of airlines are trying really hard. They have day programs. A lot of airports, you can have the opportunity to take your child and go through a practice flight. They pick at least one Saturday a year where everybody can go through the TSA and get on a flight and have the tray table go down and practice everything except the takeoff and the landing, right? Without buying a ticket. And that's a wonderful thing, and we appreciate that the airlines are being that forward thinking. We know that many airlines have tried to prepare their attendants so that they will have a semblance of what it is they need to do. They're not going to get to all of them. As parents and as caretakers and people who love individuals from the autism spectrum, we need to get stronger at identifying who we can talk to and what ways we can talk to them. I don't think this mom made a mistake. I really honestly don't, but I do think that there was a moment when they were problem solving, and then there was a moment when everybody got too concerned. Bless the fact that everybody got through this safely, but moving forward, I want to encourage all of you to pick your words wisely when you're in the air. If you're afraid that your child is going to have a meltdown, pick people around you that you can identify that are people who will support you, so that if you're busy and they need to talk to the flight attendants, get people on your team so that this doesn't happen to any other families. But unfortunate circumstances, thank goodness everyone was okay and everyone got home safely. We'll look forward to seeing what happens. I expect that United Airlines might be making some changes in the way they do things, but I do think on our side we can communicate a little bit more effectively with our flight attendants. I'm not saying that this mom did a thing wrong. I think that she was a champion of making sure that her kid was taken care of, and I don't think I would have done a thing different, but we'll take this information and move forward. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more Autism Live after these messages. Mid-swing on this wonderful day, this wonderful walk with Mr. Matt Asner. Talk to us about today's walk. Do we have any facts, figures, numbers, or just pure emotion?
Just pure emotion. I'm about to get the numbers. We'll see what it is. Okay. I think it's probably close to 1.6, probably. That's my feeling. But it's incredible. We had 55,000 people plus here today, and you know, I honestly, I've been here 7 years. It gets better and better and better. So.
And really what you've fostered here today is hope. I know that's your favorite four-letter word.
Where are we without hope?
Where are we?
Really, I mean, seriously, where are we without hope? Hope is everything. Hope is eternal.
This is a pretty big event. Every year I love it. What does this event mean to you?
Well, I just think it's great that you see so many people coming out to support, autism.
So we're here with Max Burkholder. There's a whole community of people that are going to love you no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter what you do. And that's the autism community. Are you okay with this? Is this a good thing?
I'm pretty okay with it. This seems to be a pretty happy, supportive community.
Well, what did you learn about autism through portraying this wonderful character?
Sort of the individuality of it. You know, like with autism spectrum disorders, a tendency is to sort of generalize everybody with sort of the same degree of affliction as sort of exactly the same, and very generalize them a lot. But something I found while just talking to everybody, and that I tried to put into the characters just the sense of individuality that all of them have, everybody has. And so at a certain point it became not really even portraying autism, it just sort of became portraying the character.
I want to say thank you on behalf of everybody for what you
that's
do.
very sweet.
To bring awareness and to raise money. That's a tremendous, tremendous legacy. But as a dad, you've got other things that you're doing as well.
Yeah.
I want to know, as a family, if you have any advice, what's been something that's been helpful to you personally?
You know, get your autistic kids out in the community. I mean, my son's got a guide dog, so he goes to a lot of cool places. He surfs, he skis, does gymnastics. He's actually trying Hebrew school. I'm not quite sure if he knows what's happening there, but he does all kinds of cool things, and he has a lot of friends. Right now, most of his friends are the adults who take care of him, and over time, hopefully he'll have more friends who are his age, and you'll see him walking around, and people won't be nervous around him. The dog's been very helpful with that. It's like the dog is like the most infectious thing in the world. Like, everybody wants to be near the dog, and he sees that, and he gets some of that affection laid onto him. So as a family, you know, we're just there to support Tyler and make him happy.
It's every parent's desire for their child to have a great start in life. Yet there is a condition affecting more children's lives than pediatric cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined. Autism strikes 1 in every 150 children.
Today, 1 in 110 kids in the U.S. will be diagnosed with autism. That is a huge jump from 30 years ago when it was 1 in 30,000.
Startling new report finds the number of children with autism is skyrocketing. The Centers for Disease Control estimates 1 in 68 children has a form of autism. Now, that's a 30% increase in just 2 years.
Well, a lot of the children and all the accomplishments over the last 20 years, I'm thrilled.
I think what kept me was the feeling that, you know, I would have a parent come to my office late at night at UCLA and just fall apart. And this is a long time ago. There were much less back then in terms of services and knowledge and so on. And I would just sit with the family and the parents and walk them through and try to take away some of their fears, you know. And at that point I realized, I think the thing that's actually most important to me is that process. I mean, thank God that I've been very, very lucky and blessed to have so many incredible clinicians join me along the way and just develop CARD in such an amazing, magnificent way. That I could, you know, for me it was more really about how can I help the families? What can I do for the moms, the dads, you know? It is just, and I feel like, you know, there's no way I would ever really know because I haven't had my own child go through this, but I've experienced it with people a lot of times.
Hi, this is Megan. I'm in first grade all by myself. My teachers are so fabulous. I like to read books. I like to go to my friends' birthday parties. I like to invite my friends to my birthday parties. I once had a sleepover with a friend. I like to have play dates with my friend. I'm the best reader in my class. I like to go to the library. I like to read different series of books. And here's how I learned to do all these things. By my card friends and Dr. Grant Pichet. Thank you, card friends and Dr. Grant Pichet.
Welcome back to Autism Live. A little programming note since you just saw the thank you to Dr. Doreen Grampichet. Dr. Grampichet is not with us again tomorrow. We're going to be showing the second half of the anxiety show. Now, in the first half of the anxiety show last week, you got a lot of the technical stuff and how it fits in with the DSM-5 and how it can be comorbid with autism. It's a lot of the more technical side of things, which often isn't, you know, the more interesting side of things. But I think if you've got a child dealing with anxiety and autism, it's really to your benefit to understand all of that stuff that she went through last week. But now this week is the second half of it. It's the nuts and the bolts about how do I deal with this? What do I do? You know, if you feel strangled by the fact that your child has anxiety, really, really helpful show. Now, we will have Dr. Grampichet back with us on the 20th. So, and we might have some other exciting people on the 20th. So you definitely don't want to miss on the 20th. But I do apologize that we don't have Dr. Grampichet live tomorrow. But you will get to see that anxiety show. And then in the second half of the show tomorrow, Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We're calling it the Nancy birthday episode because today is actually Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson's birthday. But for the show, we're going to be celebrating it tomorrow. So here's the little thing that I want. At some point during the show tomorrow, we're going to do a cake and give a cake to Nancy. But I'd love it if as many of you as possible would please send us messages. You can send them on the live feature. You can email them to me at s.penrod@autism-live.com. You can put it on our Facebook. But I'd love for as many messages as possible to Nancy. I will tell you, Nessie, I'm going to try to not get emotional here, but you know, we all have our days, right? We're all going through our days and we're trying to do our level best by the people in our lives, by our kids, by our significant others. And if we've got the time and if we have the ability, we try to make things better for other people. I have never met anybody that is more serious about that than Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson. It isn't just being the executive director of Autism Care and Treatment Today. She's the special needs chair at her church. And whenever she hears of someone in need, it's something that, you know, her little Nancy ears perk up and she does her level best to be able to help people. It really is her full-time job. And sometimes, you know, I have seen her where, you know, she said, gosh, I don't know if I'm making enough of a difference. I will say that I have seen her be in that moment where she says, I just don't feel like I'm doing enough. I would love it if everybody who's watching would write in and tell her, you know, happy birthday, and we see what it is that you're doing. Something along those lines about, you know, she is making a difference because I know how important it is for her. And that she makes a difference in people's lives that she never gets to know that she made a difference in their life. So if you're sitting someplace today and have the ability to write in Nancy and tell her how she's impacted your life and to tell her happy birthday, I would love that. We'd love to be able to share those messages with her. And it's free. It doesn't cost a thing to be able to say to somebody, hey, I see you and I see that you're doing good work, because boy, oh boy, is that woman doing some good work. And then hopefully we'll have a chance to read some of those to her, but we will give her copies of all of them tomorrow. We look forward to that. All right, it is time for us to go to the A Word. This is an ongoing documentary being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley. Jack Riley was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2, and we're having a little window into his family, seeing what it's like for them, their growing family, to be experiencing early intensive behavioral intervention. For those of you who are longing for it, you get to see why, and you also get to understand that it's not easy. This is not a picnic. It takes everybody's participation and a lot of patience, but progress is there. It's on the table. So take a look. This is the A Word.
Jack, hi.
Hi.
What are you doing? What are you doing, Jack? Say, I'm playing. Or I'm watching.
I'm watching.
You're watching. Are you watching me? What's this?
No.
What's this? What are these? What are these, Jack?
Eyes.
What is this? Are you looking? Jack Riley, what's this? What is it?
Nope.
Yeah? So Suzanne, we actually have 3 new programs in his logbook. They are actions, body parts, and categories.
I noticed there's a notebook with pictures of Ellie. Is that part of it?
Oh no, that's actually, it's something really cool. Did you want to see it?
Sure.
It's something that his mom made, I think, before he started talking. So what it is it's just things that are in his environment that his mom cleverly made, which is really cool. It has like different foods that he eats, and I guess she did her own kind of can you point to the dog? What does it say? Kind of like her own kind of discrimination training, I guess, for him. Body parts. It's a really cute little book that she made. And he can label all of them, huh? What are these? What are these? Feet. What are these? Right here.
Toes.
Very good. All right, Jack. So we're going to be doing actions. We're matched on waving in a field of 2 with an unknown, just to see if he can discriminate between the 2. Give me waving. Good job. What is it?
Waving.
Waving. Very good. Good job, Jack Riley.
Jessica points at the correct answer after Jack Riley motions to the incorrect picture to ensure he answers correctly. This is called errorless learning. The reason we do this is that the more opportunities he has to practice the right behavior and be rewarded, the quicker he will learn it and succeed. It's positive reinforcement. Think of it like this. If you were constantly being told what you were doing was wrong and weren't offered help, you'd become frustrated and give up. But if you were assisted, you'd keep trying and eventually succeed independently.
Give me waving. Yay! What is it?
Waving.
Perfect. Very good. You get all your stickers. Then what do you get?
Clothes.
Perfect. Nice job. There you go. So the next one we're going to do is body part, and he is on mouth. So the SD is what is it, and we point to the body part on his own body, and he has to be able to label it. And he's been saying nose with me, because I guess it's close proximity, but let's see if you know it today, mister. What is it?
Nose.
Say mouth.
Mouth.
Good. What is it?
Mouth.
Very good. There you go. There's one sticker. Okay. Ready? Look at me.
Welcome.
Good job. Okay. What is it? Say mouth.
Mouth.
Good. What is it?
Mouth.
Nice job. Oops. Okay. Ready? One more sticker, okay? Okay. Hey, put your arms down, Rockstar. Thank you. What is it?
Mouth.
Yay! All right, high five. All right. You got your 3 stickers.
3 stickers.
There you go. What do you want?
Phone.
Say, I want phone.
Phone.
Good job. Here you go. And with the receptive labels that we've been working on with him, he knows so many labels now. What's that? Say bear.
Bear.
What is it? What is it? What's this?
Tackle.
What's this?
Fire.
What is this?
Your book.
That we've moved into categories. We're having him give us the picture of the category and having him label it as whatever category pertains to, like the food. Give me food. Where's the food? Good job. What is it?
Food.
Very good. Nice job. Give me food.
Soup. What?
Food. Okay, give me food. What is it?
Food.
Food. Good job.
Horse.
Oh, look, Jack Riley, look. Oh, I'm going in the garage. You want to go inside? Go inside. Whee! I'm here. Woo! Ready? There he goes. Say, let's go. Let's go. All right.
Jessica and Jack Riley are playing together so he can practice how to appropriately play with toys.
Are you all done, cars? Or you want more?
All done.
All done. Okay. All right. That's okay.
All done. Look.
Okay. All done blocks too? Okay. All right. Here, Jack Riley. Let's go for a walk. Sit down. Okay. Ready to go for a walk?
Yes.
Okay. Say, let's go.
Let's go.
Say, let's go, Suzanne.
Let's go, Mr. Jen.
Okay. She will come with us.
Coming.
Say, come on, Mom.
Come on.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
Last week during clinic, Cheryl and Mike brought up how outings had been difficult with Jack Riley not complying with stop or refusing to walk. Sabrina, their supervisor, suggested that they practice this skill with a therapist at least once a week until the problem behavior becomes better.
You can practice spell off in the rain. Okay, let's go. Stop. Yay! Good job. Stop. Stop. Come back. Yay! Yay! Thank you. Let's go. This way. Stop, stop. Who do you see? What do you see? Wow, we found a daddy on our walk. Hey, neighbors.
You just want to pinch that little face, those little cheeks. He is so cute. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the A word, and which Jack Riley is the star of. Encourage you to check out that entire series. Watch it in whatever way suits you. You can go from the what the current end of it is, although we believe we have another installment coming soon. You can start at the beginning, you can start in the middle, you can search different aspects of therapy. Maybe your child is about to go through potty training, so go to that playlist and put in potty training and check out how they potty trained Jack Riley. It's an amazing, amazing resource. We thank that amazing family for making it possible. Hey, there were a bunch of questions that have come in over the weekend, and I'm just going to take one or two right now, and then we're going to take a break, and then we have that wonderful interview that we had with Robin Schneider, awesome mother, advocate, author of the book Silent Running, talking with her about how she found her boys' passion in running and how that passion for them translated into a whole life that they've built the family around, in fact, and how it's helped them to get through some really tough things. Such an inspirational interview, and that's coming up in just a few minutes. First of all, I want to acknowledge somebody wrote in, last week, my son and I got to go to Autism Awareness Night at Dodger Baseball. Oh my goodness, we're still reeling from it. So fun. Jem got to be one of the select few kids who got to run onto the field, run to a player, and get their baseball signed, and I got to be the crazy mom running behind him. Please, if you ever doubt that I'm a nutball, you need to go and watch on Facebook. We are on our YouTube channel. I posted the video that I took. You can hear me talking and screaming, going, "Don't run into the players," as he's running across the field. It's pretty hilarious. But somebody wrote in and said, "Hi, Shannon, your son Jem is amazing. Thanks for sharing the video of him running, and we can totally relate to you running behind and reminding him you must be so proud." I am so proud of my son, and I don't think I was ever more proud of him than I was that night, although I was pretty proud of him yesterday. I'm pretty proud of him every day. He's an amazing kid, but that was a beautiful, beautiful night for us, although I looked like a lunatic. But, sometimes that is my job, to run behind him and look like a lunatic. I guess that's just the thing. Last night we got to watch, the Dodger Baseball makes a pre-show, and it's not for public use, but we got to watch their pre-show footage of, and there's a fabulous, hilarious clip of me running across the field looking like a lunatic mom. And there I am in all my glory. But we had a good laugh about it. It was really fun. So thank you for appreciating that. My kid is amazing. Somebody else wrote and said, "Hi Shannon, love your show. Just started watching about a week now and can't stop watching." Come here, air hugs. I have tons of questions. Keep them coming in. What's the best way to search for summer camps for a child on the spectrum? One that has basically a speech impairment and is told that he has a mild autism disorder. Comprehension is one of his biggest issues, and thanks for all your help. Coming to us from Austin, Texas and surrounding cities. We're thrilled to have you aboard, and please ask as many questions as you'd like. All right, well, and we were just talking before, if you watched earlier in the show, we had a guest on from Picasso Einstein talking about their summer program, and I mentioned that they are a Baker grant recipient. Autism Speaks does grants every year. They're called the Baker Grants, and they are for camps all throughout the United States. And different camps can submit, and it's a very rigorous process. I have sat on the committee before, so I can tell you it's a very rigorous process to see camps that they feel are worthwhile. If they do get the grant, they are granted $5,000, which doesn't go to salaries. That $5,000 goes to scholarships for individuals who need help in order to be able to afford to go to camp. So isn't that amazing? First of all, you have a process where parents and other people from the autism world vet these camps to see that they're worthwhile. So it's already gone through a little bit of a strainer there, and they have monies to be able to support individuals who otherwise couldn't afford it. So I want to encourage you, as you begin your camp search process, to go on to Autism Speaks and put in Baker. There should be a tab that says grants, and if you go into the Baker grant recipients, it lists them, and it will tell you a little blurb about the camp, and guess what else it has? It has the link to go to their website to find out more. And you can see, I don't know if you can search by city, but you can see which cities that it's in. And I don't think that they're in alphabetical order. I don't think that they're in any particular order, so you're probably gonna have to go through the list. And it's a lengthy, lengthy list. But I guarantee you, because I was going through the list yesterday and contacting people, because we're going to be featuring several of the Baker Camp recipients throughout the next couple of weeks. I got so hopeful about how many different things there are equestrian camps, so that if your child, in particular, if your child were having core issues, core strength issues, where they've got writing issues and they're not sitting up straight at the table like me, and just really having poor muscle tone, an equestrian camp might be the thing for that. There are camps that work on social skills. There are camps that work on entrepreneurial skills, like we were talking with Picasso Einstein. So if you're looking specifically for comprehension, I'll bet you could find something. It is amazing, the depth and the breadth. There are lots of camps that have swimming. There are camps that have drama. There are camps that have multimedia. Oh, I got so excited, you guys. Another thing to be looking at, depending on the age of your prospective camp counselor, is whether you want it to be inclusion or a non-inclusion camp. So I know for Jem, one of the things that I'm looking at this summer is that it's got to have at least 50% inclusion, because we're working towards him being socialized. And if I put him just in a camp with individuals who are on the autism spectrum, we're going to be working on different kinds of things, and there is still something to be gained from him working on socialization, but I think we wouldn't get as far as where I want to get. I need for him, at this moment in time, he's in a really good phase where he's modeling behavior. So I need for him to be around some social butterflies who don't have disabilities in the social arena. And depending on how old and what your child's abilities are, you may find that too. For other kids, it's better, depending on where they are ability-wise, maybe in the beginning not to be an inclusion, but it's something that you want to look at and have an understanding of how that works. You also want to be looking at whether or not your child is allowed to bring an aid, whether they have aids there or there are no aids allowed. and who funds the aid when the aid comes. These are all really important things to look at for camps. But I would definitely start with the Baker Grant recipients, because you already know that they're doing something amazing if they were able to get a grant, and you know that there's the potential that your child could get a scholarship to help defray some of the cost or make it possible for them to go flat out. So check that out on autismspeaks.org. All right, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, so thrilled that I had an opportunity to speak to this amazing mom, Robin Schneider. Really want to encourage you to check out her book, Silent Running. You want to talk adversity. This mom, there isn't much that she hasn't been through. We talked with her about how they discovered that running was going to be the passion for her boys, because there were a lot of days when she didn't know that that's what her boys' passion were, how they found that, how they encouraged it, how they fostered it, and some of the difficult times that they have encountered since then, and how they got through those times as well. Amazing, inspirational interview coming up after this next break. Stick with us. What do you think about ABA treatment?
ABA is the one that's documented, but I think that's what I think is important with little kids, the intensity. If this kid's 2, 3, and 4 years old, he needs 20 or 30 hours a week of intensive early intervention, working one-to-one with an effective teacher. And an effective teacher knows kind of how just hard to push, because you've got to stretch these kids. If you don't stretch them somewhere, they don't advance. You push on them too hard, they go into sensory shutdown. The worst thing you could do with an autistic 2-year-old is to do nothing with them and just let them sit there rocking. And when I was very young at 2.5, ABA type things were used on me, but it wasn't called ABA in that day. You know, my teacher would hold up a cup and she'd speak slowly. You got to speak slowly to these kids because there's auditory processing problems. She'd say cup, and then I'd say cup, and the teacher would praise me. You know, that's very similar to ABA. You know, ABA in its original form is a little kids program. The whole idea is you're trying to get language jump started. And I like the more flexible kinds of ABA. You got different levels of kids. I had ABA type stuff when I was young, but then after I pulled out of it, I didn't have to go through elaborate things of getting ready for school. I still have this habit now today. I lay my clothes out the night before that I'm going to wear, so when I'm sleepy I can just get them on. And then you have other individuals where they've got to do very structured, breaking down the task analysis. This is where after you get out of the little kids and you get them talking, they kind of diverge into different levels of functioning. And a type of ABA program that'd be suitable for a very severe kid would not be something you'd want to do with a mild Asperger kid, because you're going to bore them to death and make them hate school.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so thrilled right now that we're joined by a very special guest who's coming to us from the East Coast via Skype, Robin Schneider. She is a mother, she is an author, she is an activist, and she is an inspiration. She has 2 sons, count them, 2 sons who are on the autism spectrum, and she has written a book, Silent Running, that we're going to be talking about with her, about her 2 boys and how they found a passion that no one would have guessed. So first of all, Robin, welcome to Autism Live.
Thank you so much.
And let's talk a little bit about this wonderful book, which is available on Amazon, correct?
Yes, it is.
And most major booksellers. Wonderful, wonderful book. And tell us what this book is about.
Okay. Silent Running, Our Family's Journey to the Finish Line with Autism, is about my son's journey from a double diagnosis of autism at the age of 21 months old to the finish line of their first marathon. And it's the story about them and our lives during the early years when we received a diagnosis in 1992, when there really wasn't very much out there. There was no internet, there were no chat rooms, there were very little resources, and we just really had to find our path with which to follow. And we did find that in ABA. And the story is really about how we were able to cope, and it's a story of strength and resilience in trying to find a way to hopefully, I was hoping to cure my sons and find a way to cure their autism, and that didn't work. I knew that was not going to happen. So after we actually founded one of the founding parents of a school for children with autism called the Genesis School. And the program opened in 1995, and we were just so fortunate when it did. We felt that the boys were in the right place at the right time. And then they started having some behaviors. And so we really shifted gears in trying to find happiness for them. We wanted to know what would make them happy. And because they were nonverbal and still are nonverbal at the age of 24, we really had to just kind of read their behaviors and their affect and just get a sense of what would make them happy. And we enrolled them in all sorts of activities. I really didn't say no to very much, but we had them in karate and basketball and all sorts of swimming lessons and things of that nature. And then we found running. And it was, we found it really a recommendation from a friend of mine. And we found a club that paired seasoned runners with athletes with developmental disabilities. And it was a dream come true for us because my sons loved it from the very beginning. They were good at it. It was a way for them to get out all of their excess energy. It reduced a lot of their anxiety, and it's taken on really the focus of our lives as a family. And after the boys started running, my husband started running as well to manage his multiple sclerosis, and he started running with my son Jamie, and then I started running after I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So we're really a running family, and my boys, Alex in particular, is incredibly gifted. He runs, his best marathon is a 3:14. He runs a 5:15 a mile, and they run all kinds of races.
And we're starting to lose you a little bit, so I want to pause there. But the book is amazing for anybody who's looking for some inspiration about true survivors, because your family is a group of survivors. These two amazing young men are forging paths for the rest of our kids to follow through, and as parents, you are demonstrating to all of us such inspiration by the things that you've gone through. So we want to take a break, but we want to tell people again, Silent Running is the book. Make sure that you get it. Such an inspiration. If you're at all having a moment where you think that you've got a lot on your plate, guarantee you read this book and see what can be gotten through and how you can not just survive but thrive. Silent Running, on Amazon and in most major booksellers. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with more. Robin Schneider talking about some of those challenges that they've overcome, and in particular, we're going to talk a little bit about how the bombing at the Boston Marathon could have put an end to things for them, but that it didn't, thank goodness. All right, stick with us. Back after these messages.
Hi, welcome to Camp Discovery, a free-to-play suite of fun, interactive learning games for kids 2 and up, designed by experts in autism. Camp Discovery will open your early learner to a world of new skills, shapes, numbers, colors, locations, emotions, and more. Let's get started.
Please choose a level.
Objects. First, Camp Discovery's Intelligent Preference Assessment determines your child's preferred reward for choosing correctly. Okay, got it. Let's play. Camp Discovery creates a motivating learning environment for your child by minimizing incorrect responses and maximizing successful ones.
Find the shoes.
Respond correctly and your child is rewarded with their favorite animations.
You did it.
Respond incorrectly and our unique prompting system guides your child to the correct answer by making it the largest choice.
That's not it. Try again. Way to go.
Continue to answer correctly and the size gradually reduces until the child makes the correct choice independently.
You win.
Success! Rewards motivate learning. Complete a round and your child is rewarded with a fun mini-game. Track your child's progress with easy-to-read graphs. Multiple settings options allow you to customize Camp Discovery to your child's unique needs. All this in one single app, the Camp Discovery app, available for free on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon Store.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest right now is Robin Schneider. She is an inspirational mom and an author of the book Silent Running, which you can get on Amazon. It details her family story of having 2 young boys who are now 24 years old, both of them on the autism spectrum and nonverbal, and how the whole family discovered running. Robin, I had mentioned to you over the weekend that so often as autism parents, we're all looking for that thing that helps connect our children to the world, that thing that touches passion. in them and helps them to overcome challenges. And it's always fascinating to find when somebody has found it. I think it's so worthwhile to talk about how did you find it? You mentioned before the break that there wasn't much that you said no to, that you were trying lots of different things. How did you and your husband discover that running was going to be the thing that really sang to your kids?
You know, looking back on it now, as I said before, I just never said no to anything because they can't tell me what they like. They can't even tell me if they're hurt or hungry. They're, you know, both of them are nonverbal. So for us to be able to make decisions for them, you know, it's a huge responsibility and it's very difficult. And so, as I said before, I just want them to be happy. That's my, you know, that's my dream, that's my goal. And so when we had them in various different activities, I knew that they enjoyed some of those things, and not, you know, some more than others. But when we, you know, just reading their faces, looking at and seeing what their reactions are, we had taken them for the very first time to see a race, to meet some of the running coaches. And when we took them to the race, it was in Oyster Bay on Long Island, and we stood at this finish line as the runners were coming into the finish, and the music was pounding, and you know, people were clapping and cheering, and it was such a wonderful atmosphere and a happy atmosphere and very contagious. And so we were standing by the finish line, and they were both Alex and Jamie were just bouncing up and down on their feet and watching, you know, one after the other coming in, different runners coming in. And it was just so exciting. And as we were watching them, we just, you know, we saw this kind of, you know, look on their faces of interest, they looked happy. And when we took them for the very first time for their very first run, a week later, with these two volunteer runners, they just, you know, they came around, they left our site, they ran around a lake, and when they came back, they were just beaming, and they just had a look, both of them had a look on their faces that we hadn't seen before. And what I would tell other parents is, you know, my experience has been, especially, you know, the frustration that I have in not being able to communicate with my sons, and for them to be able to tell me what they like, what they don't like, is just really just explore as much as you can, which I'm sure many parents do, and just keep exploring and keep asking people and keep networking with other parents and find out about activities and groups and different organizations that offer different types of things that, you know, I never really expected or never thought about running. I'm not a runner, you know, from the past. My husband wasn't either. And so it really wasn't something on our radar, but I didn't want to say no to it because I didn't know if it was going to be something that they enjoyed. And for us, it's really become the focus of our lives. We revolve everything around running. It's, you know, 3 or 4 times a week, and everything else kind of has to fit into our running schedule.
And I mentioned before that your family has been through a lot of challenges. You mentioned your husband is managing MS, that you have gone through breast cancer. You've got 2 children on the autism spectrum that are nonverbal and require daily care, and that's not going to change. That's a lot of reality, and with all of that, you guys have persevered and said, no, we're gonna feed this passion with these 2 boys, and joined in so that it has become the family affair. And all of that, I have to say to you, you're so courageous and such an inspiration. I think a lot of people would be impressed by that. But then your boys were running, and you were running, your husband was running with one of them for the Boston Marathon where there was the bombing. And you know, your one son was very profoundly affected by this. Talk to us a little bit about how you got through that day and how you managed to persevere after that, because I think most people, if they'd gotten as far as you did, would have said after that, okay, done. But you've continued on. So give us a lesson in perseverance. Tell us what the day was like and how you've gotten through.
Okay. Well, the Boston Marathon in 2013 was my son's let me see, it was their second Boston Marathon, but maybe about their 6th marathon in general. And I was sitting at the finish line in the first row of the grandstands, and my son Alex, who's very fast, crossed the finish line in 3 hours and 23 minutes. And we were cheering, we were excited, it was wonderful, of course. And so I left the grandstands with some friends that I was with, and we met their coaches in a family meeting area, which is, maybe a couple of blocks away. And as we were celebrating and taking pictures, it was a little chilly, and so before going back to the grandstands, which is what we always do after a race, first Alex finishes, then we go back to the grandstands and we watch for his brother Jamie to cross the finish line. I decided to stop at our hotel, which is right on the corner, to pick up a sweatshirt for Alex because it was chilly. So when we got to the hotel room, I grabbed the sweatshirt. We were about to leave the hotel to go back to the grandstands to watch his brother, and that's when we heard the explosions. And we looked out the window, and we were able to see smoke and fire trucks and a lot of commotion. And my son Alex really didn't understand why we couldn't leave. He started getting very anxious and upset. He wanted to leave to go back to the finish line like he's used to, and I couldn't reach my husband. We didn't know what was going on. We turned on the television. We were able to see what was happening really on the television. We weren't able to leave the hotel room or the hotel, actually, at that matter. It was a complete lockdown. And it took a while before I was able to reach my husband by text. We weren't able to speak to one another because the lines were down. And what happened with he was running with my son Jamie and with another coach, and they were taken off the course at mile 22 and brought to a church where they were in lockdown. They were not able to leave. And meanwhile, they had, they were cold, they had no food, they had no, clothing, money, ID, whatever. And it's really just surrounded by the chaos and his fear of the unknown, really. And he was unable, obviously, to communicate any of that. And it was extremely traumatic for him. And so finally, they were able to get back to our hotel room many hours later. And I was just so happy to see both of them. Obviously, we were just so scared of, the whole event that was unraveling. And, in terms of, where we go from here, and hearing a siren outside and not getting upset. But we felt that it was important for him to be able to get back to where he was and back into the running arena, doing the thing that he enjoys doing. So we slowly got him back in a short race, a 5K, and, maybe a little bit longer, and, in quiet, and had him wear an iPod. And slowly but surely we were able to get him back, and he has been back. Not back to where he was before that, but back to a certain point where he's able to run again, and he's able to run in marathons. And he actually ran 2 other Boston marathons since that day.
I gotta say, as an autism mom, don't you take that as the biggest compliment somebody could give you?
I do. Our kids depend on us, and without us, where would they be? And we just have to keep fighting and keep trying and keep doing and keep, looking out for them. And my is about.
Well, Robin, again, we have to say that your book, Silent Running, is available on Amazon.com and in most major booksellers. Your family is an inspiration. How is your health, and how is your husband's health?
Thank you. My health is very well right now, very good. My husband's is as well. One thing, because, once I was diagnosed with breast cancer, obviously there was so much that I wasn't unable to control, but I knew that I could help myself with both my emotional and physical healing, and taking that
out. Robin's book, Silent Running, Amazon.com. All right, thank you, Robin. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more Autism Live after these messages. Here, mid-swing on this wonderful day, this wonderful walk with Mr. Matt Asner. Talk to us about today's walk. Do we have any facts, figures, numbers, or just pure emotion?
Just pure emotion. I'm about to get the numbers. We'll see what it is.
Okay.
I think it's.
Are you okay with this? Is this a good thing?
I'm pretty okay with it. This seems to be a pretty happy, supportive community.
Well, what did you learn about autism through portraying this wonderful character?
Sort of the individuality of it, you know, like with autism spectrum disorders, a tendency is to sort of generalize everybody with sort of the same degree of affliction as sort of exactly the same, and very, you know, very generalize them a lot. But something I found while just talking to everybody, and that I tried to put into the characters, just the sense of individuality that all of them have.
Of everybody for what you
very
do
sweet.
To bring awareness and to raise money. That's a tremendous legacy. But as a dad, you've got other things that you're doing as well.
Yeah.
I want to know, as a family, if you have any advice, what's been something that's been helpful to you personally?
You know, get your autistic kids out in the community. I mean, my son's got a guide dog, so he goes to a lot of cool places. He surfs, he skis, does gymnastics. He's actually trying Hebrew school. I'm not quite sure if he knows what's happening there, but he does all kinds of cool things, and he has a lot of friends. Right now, most of his friends are the adults who take care of him, and over time, hopefully he'll have more friends who are his age, and you'll see him walking around, and people won't be nervous around him. The dog's been very helpful with that. It's like the dog is like the most infectious thing in the world. Like, everybody wants to be near the dog, and he sees that, and he gets some of that affection laid onto him. So as a family, you know, we're just there to support Tyler and make him happy.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I've got my single piece of paper here, and I have been folding it, waiting for all of you. I want to talk about the 3-term contingency. Yes, that's right. Okay, so a lot of times you guys write in and we'll talk about a behavior that your kid is doing, and it would be easy, but that's what this piece of paper is. It's just a regular piece of notebook paper. I've pulled it out and I folded it into 3 parts here, right? And you can fold this up smaller to put it in your pocket to take it with you. I'm sure that there's a way to set this up and do it on your smartphone. I have not figured that out yet, but this is easy enough to do. So I fill that out under the behavior. And by the way, this will help me while the behavior is happening, because while he's engaging in the behavior, instead of getting all upset and fatutzed about it, I can stand there and think like a court reporter, which they tell you when something traumatic is going on, think like a court reporter. Say to yourself, okay, if I was telling somebody what happened, notice all the little things. Okay, he's sitting in the sand and he's throwing it. And how long is he throwing it for? He's throwing it for 5 minutes. And as soon as I have the opportunity, I'm going to write this down in the behavior column. And it's really important to write the behavior down first, because it's the thing that's fresh in your memory, right? And write it down. Okay, now I can move on to the C column, because everything is over now. It might be that we got into the car, I got him put into his 5-point harness car seat, and I've had a breath. I pull out my behavior sheet and I write down the behavior, and I've taken a breath for myself now. And now I want to write the consequence. What happened as a result of this behavior? And you want to write down everything. And sometimes I refer to this as the no shame allowed column, right? That you don't have to lie to anybody, including yourself, and you write down, well, as a result of him doing this, I cried and gave him a lollipop, right? And later on, you can look at this and go, all right, maybe that wasn't the best choice. Okay, but you wouldn't be the first parent that had that reaction. This is just tracking what the consequences are. We can make better choices later on, but right now we're just going to be honest with ourselves and say, oh, well, you know, the consequence was he threw the sand in the other kid's face, and the other kid gave him the toy, and I let him play with it. All right. Okay, no shame, right? So the consequence is what happened as a result of the behavior that the child was doing. So you notice we've got the B filled out, and we start to fill out the consequence. Consequence was the child gave him the toy. I yelled at him for 5 minutes and was very unhappy with myself afterwards, so we went for ice cream, right? Those are all consequences there. No shame. All right, now you go, but wait a second, we didn't put anything in the A column. Because you know what? When the A column was happening, we were living our lives, right? And we didn't know that the A column was happening. But now we're going to think back in time and say, okay, the A, by the way, the B stands for behavior, the C stands for the consequence, the A stands for antecedent. What happened before? So you got to think back. All right, we were at the sandbox. He started throwing the sand. What happened if I could rewind the tape, right? What happened in the 3 to 5 minutes right before they threw the sand? Did I say it's time to get out of the sandbox? We got to go to Grandma's house? Did the other child take a toy away from him? Did the sun suddenly come out from behind clouds? Anything you can think of. It's all fair game. You don't actually know what the antecedent was. These are good, educated guesses, and leave no stone unturned. Put everything that changed in those 3 to 5 minutes before. The sun suddenly came out. The other kid took his toy. I told him he had to get out of the sandbox. It started to rain. All of those things. Now we've got a record of the behavior. Now the very last thing that I want to do is over here in the side column of the A, I want to say when this happened. It was Tuesday. It was 4 p.m. And I just make a note of it. Great. I don't need to do anything else except wait for something else to happen. So, maybe a week goes by and, all of a sudden he's throwing the sand again. I pull out my behavior sheet. Oh, he was throwing the sand again. This time it only lasted 4 minutes. Last time it was 6 minutes. Okay. And this time he only threw sand outside of the box, not inside the box. All right, what was the consequence again? I write it down, blah, 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 blah. I think back, what was the antecedent? And then I mark the time. Oh my gosh, it was Tuesday at 4 p.m. again. All right, well, now it's too early. I've only got 2 entries here. It's too early for me to see a pattern, but I've got some suspects here. I'm like, I noticed that this time it happened because of this time it happened after this. I don't really know yet. I'm just noting, but I noticed that it's happening at Tuesday at 4 o'clock. I was here on Thursday, it didn't happen. I'm going to take some more notes. Then on Thursday, he throws sand. Okay, so it's not just a Tuesday thing. And I'm taking my consequences, my antecedent, I write down my time, and it's Thursday. I am going to start to notice some patterns, and it may not be what my initial hunch was. I saw 2 Tuesdays here, and I thought it was a pattern. This is a Thursday at noon. It didn't happen then, but I start to notice that each time it was when I told him we have to go to Grandma's house. So this, at some point, I could sit down and make some decisions with this, or I could take this to a board-certified behavior analyst and say, here's what I see. That board-certified behavior analyst would probably want to come and take some data on it too, but this is going to be so helpful, they'll have to take less time doing that. But what I might see is that the antecedents were always the same. And in that case, maybe I want to put an antecedent modification strategy in place. So that instead of just saying to him in 5 minutes, we're going to go to Grandma's house, I might have to do what we call the conditioned reinforcer and for a week take him to Grandma's house, and every time we go to Grandma's house that he hasn't thrown sand, he gets ice cream, right? So that I'm pairing ice cream, if my child doesn't have an allergy, pairing that with Grandma's house so that I can say to him in a week's time, hey, in 5 minutes we're going to leave here and we're going to go get some ice cream to go to Grandma's house, and see if that takes care of the behavior. Or I might see that my consequences need to be modified, that in fact, by crying and giving him a lollipop, I just ensured that it happened again, because it happened again these different times. You would be so surprised how much you can learn by taking this kind of data. It's not hard to do, and it helps you to be a more effective parent. It helps you to be a more effective teacher. It helps you to see what's actually going on. A lot of times, we're doing so much living that we don't notice what's going on until we take this kind of data. So really, really useful. I guarantee you, you will be more effective at finding a strategy, and we're going to talk more, I think, later on in the week about what kinds of strategies and how you come up with a strategy based on the things that you've collected here. But we're going to take a break right now, and then we're going to be back with more Autism Live after these messages.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Couple of quick reminders. Don't forget that today is Nancy Allspot Jackson's birthday, and we're going to be celebrating it on Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy tomorrow. We're going to have a little cake for her. And I'm asking for all of you to write in on the live feature or send me an email, or we'll put a thing on Facebook so that you can write into her on Facebook. Write someplace and let her know that you're thinking about her for her birthday, and that she's making a difference. You know how lovely it is to be told, I see you, I see what you're doing, happy birthday, celebrating her being on the planet today and tomorrow. All right, tomorrow also ask Dr. Doreen, no live Dr. Doreen, unfortunately again this week, because she needed to be in other parts of the world tomorrow. Very important that she be there. But we are playing the second half of the anxiety show. You guys, it's an hour worth spent. So thrilled that we have an opportunity to share that with you again tomorrow. But we will be live for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We have three, count them, three amazing guests. One of them, Sue Cho, an amazing expert in the field of autism that we've had on the show before, truly lights up the room. She travels the world and helps our kids around the world. She's amazing. We're going to have her on the show. And as sort of a mini birthday present for Nancy, Nancy's going to have some questions for her that she'd like to ask an autism expert. And then we are going to have Spencer Hart and her mom Jill are going to be here with us as a special birthday surprise for Nancy as well. Spencer, an amazing young woman that I cannot believe we have not had on the show before, and her mom, an amazing woman. They were with us at Dodger Night. Spencer got to run on the field, and Spencer and my son became fast friends. Even last night watching the video, my son was like, where is Spencer? Where is Spencer? Where is Spencer? So Spencer's going to be on the show tomorrow. Beautiful singer. Is going to talk with us about about some places that she's been singing and some people she's been singing with lately, you will be impressed. It is a great resume. All right, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I want to get to as many questions as we can here that were sent in specifically for me. Somebody who wrote in and said, what are the characteristics that a child has that require ABA therapy? My son, 7-year-old on the spectrum, has speech impairment issue, comprehension issue, and nothing else. What would he benefit from ABA? I first want to let you know that ABA, which stands for Applied Behavior Analysis, is effective. Is an effective teaching method for absolutely anyone. Absolutely anyone. In fact, anything that's living it's an effective teaching tool. So whether somebody is on the spectrum, not on the spectrum, it is effective at teaching whatever you want to be able to teach. It's like the tool set. You decide what you want to paint, but it's the paintbrushes and the tools to be able to paint, to be able to teach something to someone. So if your child is having difficulty with speech and with comprehension, those are things that you can definitely work on using ABA principles to see a benefit from. When insurance is looking at whether to fund ABA, saying that it is imperative, in general, there are very specific things that they are looking at to show that an individual needs to be able to learn safety, they need to be able to learn self-care, they have to be able to feed themselves, toilet, things, they have to be able to attend school, to be able to sit and attend. So you would want to talk with an ABA provider specifically about where, but certainly comprehension issues would be included in that, and being able to communicate are definitely included in reasons why someone needs ABA to be able, excuse me, to be safe. Okay, another person wrote in and said, hello Shannon, thank you for sharing your experiences that are very helpful. How qualified are teachers who have children on the spectrum in elementary classrooms? Excuse me. How do we know that they're certified? You don't, and a lot of times they're not. And it's amazing to me that sometimes you can have a teacher who is not certified, does not have an autism certificate, and can be brilliant with an individual who's on the autism spectrum because it's a teacher who wants to learn. Teachers who are excited about gaining new information and taking things on and wanting to explore new things tend to be people who are amazing with our kids. And people who are done learning and don't want to learn anything and feel that they've already learned things tend to be not great with our kids because our kids challenge us. They force us to learn new things, which can be a blessing or can be a difficult thing for people who are not excited about learning. So a lot of times, more and more teachers are getting certified in autism, and some of them are great with kids, and some of them, you know, if you still don't have a good attitude, getting a certification in teaching autism isn't going to help you to work with kids and being able to be flexible with each individual who comes through the door. You continue to write, why can't teachers, school psychologists, diagnosticians, inclusion teachers, interventionists, or any other support staff diagnose disabilities of other children whose parents are in denial? You know, think about it. If you are not in a place where you want to know what is happening with your child, it isn't going to matter what somebody's going to say. You're not going to hear it. And there are very few people who are actually clinically able to diagnose autism. And I don't know about you, as a former teacher, I certainly can look at somebody and say, oh, I see aspects of the autism spectrum in that person, but you know, I am not trained to be able to say that person has autism, right? And there have been many people who feel that they can diagnose. I think back to a horrible case where there was a young boy that went missing and then later was found and lost his life. Devastated the entire community, third grader. And I remember when the news crew was interviewing his teacher, and it was his teacher from the year before. They stuck the microphone in her face while he was still missing and said, talk to us about this boy who's missing. And she said, oh, his mother says he has autism, but that boy doesn't have autism. And I was so singularly offended for that child and for his mother, as if things weren't bad enough. We really don't need people who aren't qualified weighing in, saying that they know what somebody has or doesn't have. So not helpful and illegal from the child's perspective, that they should not be sharing those kinds of things. We just have a couple of minutes here, so I want to hurry on to the last part of your question, that your son has a child on the spectrum. He's a child on the spectrum, but he also has a classmate who has a disability in his own way, and a classmate who should be labeled on the spectrum. You know, the truth of the matter is they don't need a diagnosis for the teacher to be able to be useful and helpful. The teaching techniques that we talk about here on the show that are useful for kids on the autism spectrum are useful for kids who have not gotten the diagnosis and in fact don't qualify for the diagnosis. I was a teacher who knew absolutely nothing about autism, and looking back on it, some of the things that I did in my classroom, I didn't know they were ABA, but I had a really good challenging behavior specialist when I went into a really difficult classroom, and I said, I need some help here. I need somebody to tell me how we, change this equation, because I have some students who need to learn, and I have to get over this in order to be able to teach them, so how am I doing that? And I got some really good quality help. There's an article that both myself and Dr. Adele Nadowski recently wrote in Scene magazine about challenging behavior in the classroom that's specifically for teachers, written by an ex-teacher and a doctor. Check it out. Because I hope that it's of use to people. Some of the best things that I learned in the classroom, paired with a BCBA, talking about some of the most effective things that she's experienced in the classroom. So I hope that's of help to you. We're out of time. Don't forget, write in to say happy birthday to Nancy Allspot Jackson, and definitely tune in tomorrow to see a very special show with some very special guests here on Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and Dr. Doreen will be playing the second half of the Autism Anxiety Show. Thank you all for being with us. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. Until tomorrow, give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.